The research is really fascinating. We're beginning to look at gut bacteria, and like this is what I was talking about before with the fermented foods. We all thought that eating more fermented foods is amazing, and I still promote fermented foods, right? Because sauerkraut and kimchi, yes, and yogurt,
Yeah.
yes, they're all associated with positive health outcomes. But maybe the outcomes is not due to reseeding your gut bacteria. Maybe these outcomes are due to something else. And I have to be comfortable saying that we don't know what that is,
Hmm.
but it's complex. You take a complex life form like food, and you put it into a complex life form like us. There's a whole bunch of interactions that we cannot map out.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you have to look at these endpoints. What are the health benefits? Like, um, and I hate to say it again. This is why I'm a little bit on the fence about nutrition research. These endpoints are not only associated with your diet, but they're also associated with so many other things that are going on in your life.
Yeah.
That's my beef with a lot of these studies is that it's not taking into account lifestyle habits, whether they're
Mm.
smokers, or their high stress environment, or their lack of sleep, dehydrated. Like there's so many factors that, like you said, will affect your cortisol levels and all sorts of things. It's really
Yeah,
complex when you look at nutrition. And I love your approach because you're taking everything into account, you know?
Yeah.
you have
If
to.
yeah.
I
Oh,
think the future's going in this holistic
oh, I hope
mentality.
so. But I'm
I,
telling you, like I'm
it
in the
seems like
Department of Nutrition, and there's a lot of funding to try to tease out what's going on, but it's all going towards the wrong thing. Now, I presented this. I took a few minutes in my class to throw a bomb, and this is so controversial. And all the students are thinking, like, why am I even in nutrition? It's just a useless thing. First, I am reluctant to even call nutrition a science because in all scientific fields you have base rules, right? Chemistry, physics, biology have a basic rule, and then when you're going to do experiments, you're going to do an experimental protocol and compare it to the base. The problem in nutrition is that there's no such thing as the perfect human diet.
Mm.
We don't know what the baseline is. So with no baseline, what we can do is only compare. But if we're going to compare, we've got to really be careful what we're comparing to. Now, I will say right now, and I know anybody who's like a hardcore nutrition fan is going to hate me for this, but it's true. The research shows that epidemiological sciences, like prospective studies, is pseudoscience. So a prospective study is I I give you a questionnaire and I ask you what you ate today, yesterday, on the weekend, whatever. I come back next year and I give you the questionnaire again. I give you the next year or every 5 years, whatever like that. And then in 10, 15, 20 years from now, you die of cancer or you die of heart disease. And I'm going to look back at what you've been eating for the last 20 years. I'm going to make an association with that.
Mm.
yeah.
Well, we can already see tons of problems with this, right? But the
Yeah.
major problem is dietary recall. We never, and this has been shown time and time again, that if I was to give you a food frequency questionnaire or a dietary recall questionnaire, you're gonna lie. Because what you're gonna put down is not what you actually ate, but what you usually eat. Or what you're, what
What
you're
you-
like,
what you want to portray, sort
yeah,
of like,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You
this
might
is
skip out the midnight snacks. Yeah.
or you might be,
Exactly.
it's like, hey, what'd you eat yesterday? And you're like, oh shit, I ate McDonald's yesterday, but it's not what I usually eat, so I'm not going to put that down because the researchers, rightly so, will think that you're eating McDonald's every day, and that's not true.
That's so funny. The- There's like a, oh hey, I want you to be mindful. I think your microphone is like hitting your shirt and it creates like
Oh,
a
sorry,
swooshing
that's
sound.
for you guys.
If you,
Okay.
I just
Oh,
realized, I was wondering what that sound was. It's really funny because like I don't know what's that big one, the China study or something like that.
yeah, the
Like that's
China
like a
study.
famous one. Yeah. So what you're saying is like that expression that we use where it's like, you know, I don't remember what I ate a week ago.
Yeah.
That's literally what those entire studies are based on, let alone all the deeper science of like what is your gut bacteria at the time, what is your genetic and epigenetic situation, and what is your like that's enough already. I don't need to list more. Like
Not only do
there's
we
so
need,
much convolution happening.
not only that, but if you follow, like, honestly, were you following carnivore and keto for the last 5 years? No,
No, no,
no.
Keto maybe. No,
Maybe.
well, like you
not
mean
even
was I
5 years ago.
following it? Like was I eating it that way?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
hell no.
what you're eating now,
Hell no.
was it the same way that you were eating it 3-4 years ago?
always
Is it going to be
changing.
the same way that we're eating 3-4 years from now?
No.
And that's because we're human. We're not freaking animals in the wild where we only have access to one or two food things. We're complex emotional beings, and the science has a really, really hard time with that. So
That's
yeah,
fair.
nutritional research, the golden standard are randomized controlled trials, but that's unethical,
Mm.
right? I can't have a randomized controlled trial for 20 years and keep you in a cage and figure out what happens.
So it's just a lot of hard science that you have to throw at this thing that is so ambiguous. Like there's no way to track this properly. It's so funny because you're an expert in this field, so you're the one saying, like, I'm saying from the inside out, this doesn't make any fucking sense.
My field sucks. My field sucks.
Yeah, but in a way, I mean, science is like this. You're curious and it's mysterious, and you're trying to get answers. So your job is set for life if you think of it in a positive way.
Yeah, no, it's true. And because nutrition is so ambiguous, that's why I use an evolutionary approach. Because for me, yes, you have always everyone from vegan to carnivore. Like, what's the most ideal diet for humans? And I'm thinking like, well, let's look at it evolution. And so I think it's important for all nutritionists
Hmm.
or any health coaches to really set themselves like, all right, well, this is my framework. And I chose a good one because I believe in evolution. Most of my clients believe in evolution, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So yes, carnivore and keto have evolutionary templates in the past. It makes sense,
Yeah.
whereas veganism does not.
That's interesting. I never thought of it that way. So you're like, you realize that you can't kind of slap this together with traditional science, so you lean into the fallacy and then kind of come at it sideways and try to just be logical about it. So it's like,
Yeah,
I guess we'll just rely on, it's still a kind of rainbow fits all thing, but you're starting at least from this point of view where it's like, well, we're humans, we evolved on this planet, and the sun and all the whole, like you said, like
you got it. And
exercise.
seasons.
Yes.
Well, okay, so this is where the ancestral health, right? The ancestors come in. A lot of nutrition research doesn't look at these divergent evolutionary patterns. Now, say we're Nordic, we're white skinned, we're from Nordic ancestry. So all Nordic climates from the South and the North Poles have very distinct seasons. Winter and summer are like two
Mm.
different things. Now, if we're living off the wild, we're hunting and fishing. During the winter, we only have one choice: hunting and fishing. There's no vegetables, there's no fruits, there's no carbohydrates. So we absolutely now human beings require a lot of energy to power our brain. So we absolutely need to figure out what to do in case there's no carbs. And that happened every year. And then sometimes during the ice ages, it happened for years,
Mm.
which is basically keto or carnivore. It's the ice age diet, if you want to think of it that way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Now we had to develop these systems. Now the human being, Homo sapiens, are the only mammal in the world that is so efficient at getting into ketosis. Bears don't even get into heavy ketosis like Homo sapiens, and they hibernate every winter. But Homo sapiens requires a good supply of glucose and or ketones to supply this very energy demanding organ. And so nature says, well, if we're going to survive ice ages and winters, we have to come around with a solution. So we're going to make the human species very good at falling into ketosis in the absence of carbohydrates. So if it was not for that ability, we wouldn't be here. So
Mm.
yes, ketosis is a natural human evolutionary development.
That's interesting. But I've always wondered, because I've experimented with some diet.